Now to President Biden, riding momentum from the State of the Union. The president went first to Wisconsin to tout his economy. Yesterday, he was in Florida for Social Security and Medicare. Our VRN correspondent John Glasgow is in the newsroom with more. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Alex. President Biden taking aim at the Republicans again. Speaking in Florida, Biden suggesting GOP members will end entitlement benefits to cut the budget. Listen.
I know that a lot of Republicans, their dream is to cut Social Security and Medicare. Well, let me say this. If that's your dream, I'm your nightmare.
President Biden mocked Florida Republican Senator Rick Scott in his address, reading from Scott's campaign pamphlet, accusing him of proposing sunsetting all federal legislation, a plan where Social Security and Medicare would require Congress to approve them every 5 years. Scott adamant that is not true.
We want to preserve Social Security. We want to preserve Medicare. We want to preserve our safety net programs like Medicaid. But there's a whole bunch of wasteful spending out here that we can't do.
So President Biden plans to tax billionaires 15% and cap prescription drug and insulin costs to reduce the budget by what he says is $2 trillion. Republicans quick to point out Biden sang a different tune in 1995.
Re-election this year, and I'm going to remind everybody what I did at home, which is going to cost me politically. When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government. And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a third time, and I tried it a fourth time. Somebody has to tell me in here how we're going to do this hard work without dealing with any of those sacred cows, some deserving more protection than others.
Yeah, so it seems like a bit of an agenda there. Biden, he lost voters 65 and older to Trump by 10 points in 2020. President likely trying to win back some of those aging voters benefiting from Medicare and Social Security. So, Rob, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell responded to the president's trip to Tampa saying, sunsetting the benefits is a Rick Scott plan. It's not the Republican plan.
Good point. John Glasgow, thanks for the setup there. Appreciate that. Live in our Newsmax newsroom. I want to keep the focus on the president's visit to Tampa, Florida yesterday. Joining me now for a reaction, Florida Congresswoman Cammack. Congresswoman, great to have you back on. Good to see you this morning.
Hey, good to see you as well. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, too. We made it. So the New York Times wrote about this yesterday. It's an old Democratic strategy. Bill Clinton used it in '96. Basically scare voters. Tell them Republicans are coming for your Medicare and your Social Security. Does it work for Biden in 2024?
No, absolutely not. And I thought it was curious. He stopped at the University of Tampa when he could have just easily driven the 30 minutes to the Villages, where you ironically have the largest Trump club in America. And he could have tested that line out there. But listen, I know he doesn't remember what he said in the 90s, and he certainly doesn't remember what he said in 1975 when he first proposed sunsetting Social Security and Medicare, because quite frankly, he doesn't remember what he had for breakfast this morning. So we're going to have to keep reminding him that he is the original architect of cutting Social Security and Medicare, that in fact it is not Republicans who wanted to do that. And I think it's important that the American people see that Republicans are interested in actually solving problems instead of playing the fear-mongering game like Biden is.
Yeah, in Florida, I'll tell you what, with a Republican governor, 2 Republican senators, state legislature in Republican hands, Florida is a red state. I don't know if that message resonates there like it may have when Joe Biden was in the Senate making the comments we played earlier from 1995. You're on the select subcommittee on the weaponization of the DOJ and the FBI. First hearings were held this week. Really interesting stuff. Basically talking about what the FBI did hand in glove with the Democratic Party before not just the 2020 election, but the 2022 election to try and swing elections across the country in Democratic candidates' favor. How important are these hearings?
Oh, these are extraordinary hearings, some of the most consequential work that we will be doing in terms of oversight this Congress. And the thing that I found curious is that this really shouldn't be a partisan issue. Republicans and Democrats should operate as Americans concerned about the fact that the administration is colluding with big tech. And then you have a weaponized DOJ and FBI that is seeking to consolidate power away from field offices in order to enact a political agenda and outcome. I think people should be deeply concerned about this because at the end of the day, we should all be striving for truth rather than a political outcome. But instead, what we saw yesterday in our first hearing was Democrats trying to rehash the January 6th committee, going after Trump, continually pointing fingers. And they were trying to discredit FBI agents, whistleblowers who have come forward. It was truly eye-opening. I know certainly for folks back home in my district watching, but there's a whole heck of a lot more to come. And Americans should be deeply concerned about their civil liberties being infringed upon by these weaponized agencies.
Yeah, and I just want everyone at home to know that these are not one-off hearings, which we typically see in Washington, by the way, and we are committed to covering these as they continue throughout the year. Congresswoman, 2 weeks ago, almost to the day, DirecTV drops Newsmax from their lineup. They did it to OAN 12 months ago, so there's a clear pattern here of censorship. If you're a conservative, not if you're liberal, progressive, a Democrat, how shocked are you that this is still happening in America?
Given everything that we have found, particularly under the Twitter files, and as somebody who's been shadow banned, I can totally understand that this is not a surprise at all, really, to any of us who have been experiencing the suppression of free speech. So I think that as conservatives, we have to stand up. We have to push back. We're getting it in all forms, through academia, through Hollywood, through news, corporate media, you name it. We are constantly under attack. We have to be more vigilant than ever in making sure that Americans have options when it comes to their news, and certainly making sure that we're protecting that most sacred First Amendment.
I've said that so many times. If the same thing happened to CNN, I might chuckle about it, but I would not support it in any way, shape, or form. Americans should have options. Congresswoman, have a great weekend. Enjoy the game on Sunday. Good seeing you.
Hey, thanks so much.
All right.
Have a good one.